Well guys, as of this video, Paw Patrol is now 10 years old. Hey, who said we were celebrating? That's better. Well, we're finally here. After multiple videos, and loads of hate references, today is finally the day. Normally, when a TV show turns 10 years old, we'd celebrate. But not this time. We're gonna spend this whole video dumping on this awful franchise. Do you know what's weird? After all the times I've dumped on Paw Patrol, after all the references I made dedicated to how much I hate it, I've never really made a dedicated video about Paw Patrol. I mean, I made a video about its god-awful spin-off, but I'd never really expressed my true feelings on the show itself. But that all changes today. In this video, we'll talk about my thoughts on Paw Patrol, how it ruined Nick Jr., and how it affected other channels. And there'll also be a bonus chapter at the end. So stay tuned for that. Will this be my last Paw Patrol related video? No, not even close. I still have to review that Paw Patrol movie coming in October. And I doubt that'll be the last movie we'd seen from them. Anyways, enough wasting time. Sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, or some chips, or whatever you have at your house right now, and enjoy the ride, cause this is gonna be one heck of a video. This show can be easily described in one word. And that word is boring. This show is boring. In case you've been living under a rock, Paw Patrol is about a group of dogs helping people. The episodes normally start with a problem happening in the stupidly named city, Adventure Bay. Then the victim decides to call the Paw Patrol, then the dogs solve the problem, yada yada yada. Listen, I understand why children like it. It's colorful, and it's harmless enough. But I was 4 years old when the show came out, and even back then, I thought it was extremely boring compared to the other shows that were airing at the time. If you asked my younger self if I'd rather watch Paw Patrol or Dora the Explorer, I'd pick Dora the Explorer, no doubt. And if you asked me that question now, I would still choose Dora. As annoying as Dora can be to older audiences, at least it makes you feel something. But whenever I watch Paw Patrol, I just wanna stop watching TV and get back to my school work. And also, it is just so repetitive. That plot description I gave you earlier, that happens in almost every single episode. Listen, I know that a lot of kid shows are formulaic, but at least those shows are often backed up with likable characters and good stories in each episode. And I better not hear anyone say,
DJ, Paw Patrol is not repetitive. Every season, they get new gadgets and they sometimes change locations and introduce new characters.
No. That does not change the formula. The only reason why they do this is to sell merchandise. It's still the same story. Do you know how to do Paw Patrol right? Well, take a look at PJ Masks. Honestly, I never really understood why people compare PJ Masks to Paw Patrol. I mean, sure, they're both kid shows, and they both have colorful art styles. But other than that, they have almost nothing in common. Do you know why PJ Masks is better? Sure, it too has a formulaic premise, but it's backed up with likable characters, and good messages for kids. Oh, and speaking of good messages, did I mention that Paw Patrol barely teaches anything to kids? I mean, there are a few episodes that has a message, but most of the time, it teaches little to nothing. So overall, Paw Patrol is nothing but a generic kid show that's boring, repetitive, and absolutely useless to kids. I guess if you have kids, you can let them watch it, but they're much better shows for them to watch. Alright, now that I finally talked about my true feelings on Paw Patrol, it's now time for the good stuff. Or the bad stuff, depending on how you look at it. Alright, now it's the moment we've all been waiting for. I mean, we still have 2 more chapters after this, but still. In Paw Patrol's first few years, it was just treated like a regular show. It aired from time to time, and it didn't yet take over the entire channel. But I think it was 2015 when the drama started. One thing you need to know, the era from 2015 to 2020 is considered to be the darkest age for Nick Jr. Many of the classic shows stopped airing, the branding became corporate and boring, and this is when Nick Jr. shows were at their absolute worst. In fact, almost all the shows on the top 5 worst Nick Jr. shows were from this era. And most importantly, this is when Paw Patrol started to take over the entire channel. Even today, if you look at the Nick Jr. schedule, it's absolutely flooded with Paw Patrol and Rubble and Crew. Do you know what's even more insulting? Bubble Guppies recently aired its final episode, and since then, Bubble Guppies started airing during the graveyard hours. If you don't know what graveyard hours are, let me explain. You know when Nickelodeon moves its ended shows to its secondary channel, Nicktoons. Well, it's kind of like that, except they air them extremely early in the morning, where no kid is gonna be up watching. Listen, I get why they do this, to make room for more of the modern shows. But come on, can't you just air it in like, noon? Look, I try to give Nick Jr. a chance, I really do. But they are not making it easy with all these stupid decisions. And that really sucks. Take a look at this schedule from 2012, it had so much variety. Sure, not all of the shows were good, but the variety is all that matters. Now look at this schedule. You see the difference. Sure, PBS Kids isn't as good as it used to be, but at least it has variety in its schedule, and it has a good balance of old and new stuff. I think I can say the same thing for Disney Junior. I personally never really cared for it, but at least it still has variety. Notice how I kept saying the word variety in this section. Well, that just goes to show how much variety is important for a TV channel. Especially a kids channel. Even if I was a fan of Paw Patrol and Rubble and Crew, I would still get bored watching it over and over again. And that's the main problem with not just modern Nick Jr., but modern Nickelodeon in general. They just don't seem to want to try anymore. As long as they air continuous reruns of Paw Patrol and SpongeBob, they'll make money. Would it be too much to say that Nickelodeon is the illumination of children's television? Nope. Yeesh, no wonder Nick always airs their movies, they're basically best friends at this point. But now, it's time to get a bit more fair. Nick Jr. wasn't the only one affected by this. In fact, once people found out how successful Paw Patrol was, everyone wanted a piece of that pie. Here's an example. Look at Paw Patrol's art style. It's a very generic colorful art style that's good for selling toys. Now look at the art style for Disney Junior's Fire Buds. You see the similarities. It's not only the art style, but the overall style of writing were similar. In fact, if I were to name the shows that even remotely ripped off Paw Patrol, we'd be here all day. In fact, even Nick Jr. decided to make another Paw Patrol. No, I'm not talking about Rubble and Crew. There was another show called Deer Squad that was so obviously ripping off Paw Patrol that it's insulting. Listen, I'm not saying all these shows are bad. There are quite a few that I enjoy. But the writing of a lot of these shows just feel a lot more lazy. And they just feel way too simple. Don't get me wrong. Preschool shows were never about complex stories, complex characters, or complex anything for that matter. But there used to be a lot of charm behind the simplicity. Like I said in the Working Out Wombats video, a good show can be simple, but can still be enjoyable as long as the writers take advantage of the simplicity. But nowadays, these shows can be described in one sentence. A group of kids solving problems in their city. And the sad part is, they actually don't have to try anymore, because kids actually like this type of content. As long as shows are nice and colorful, it doesn't matter how bad it is because they'll eat it all up. Speaking of kids, I think it's finally time we talk about those types of people. Now that we're discussing Paw Patrol, I think it's about time we finally address those comments I've been getting about my opinions. When I uploaded the top 5 worst Nick Jr. shows, I got a bunch of comments of people saying I'm wrong for hating Paw Patrol, and that I'm a horrible person for thinking that. I asked you guys in a community post how you would respond to these types of people, and the majority of you said you would block them. Now how would I respond to these people? Honestly, I would just ignore them. They're probably just little kids who have no idea what opinions are. Speaking of which, I think it's time to get educational here. Listen here kids, when I say that Paw Patrol sucks, it's called an opinion. An opinion is a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. So that means, my opinion on Paw Patrol is not a well-known fact. And also, if you disagree with any of my opinions, that's completely fine. I don't make these videos to be agreed with all the time. Not only are these comments really disrespectful, but they're also really pointless and stupid. Like, seriously, why do you guys even post these anyway? What do you expect to get out of it? Do you expect me to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know Paw Patrol meant that much to you, I'll start liking it now"? No, that's not how this world works. The world does not revolve around you, and nobody has to like the same things as you. I get so many comments on this topic that I could honestly make an entire video talking about them. But for the sake of this section, I'm only gonna be reading 2 of them. This comment is from Stephanie88 Giffey. She said, and I quote, "My Paw Patrol is one of my favorite show because I always like the TV show, I always like it. I always watched it. I always like the toys, and also you're a bad because stop talking about the Paw Patrol. The most dumb show Paw Patrol is not done. It is amazing. Okay, first of all, you really need to work on your grammar. And secondly, did you really have to remind me over and over again that you like Paw Patrol? You only had to say it once. And thirdly, not everybody in the world has to like Paw Patrol." And this comment is from Psycho Spike. He said, and I quote, "I really want to respect your opinion, but Paw Patrol is one of the most important show in my entire life. I understand why you don't like it, but the #1 worst ever. Even if you said it was the second worst, I'd get over it, but #1. This was a year ago, so do you still think it's the worst?" First of all, to answer your question, yes. I still think it's the worst. Also, dude, it's not that hard to respect people's opinions. There are plenty of shows that I personally enjoy that other people hate. And to those other people who made these comments, look. If it hurts you that much that I don't like Paw Patrol, there's only one thing you can do. Just click off the video. Go watch something else. Go find something else to do.
And stay the frick out of my comment section.
Sorry about that outburst. I just can't stand these comments. And if you decide to ignore everything I said in this video and keep commenting this crap, then go ahead, I'm not gonna stop you. But just know that you're wasting your own time. 'Cause it's not gonna change my opinions. Anyways, conclusion time, baby. And that, my friends, is how Paw Patrol ruined Nick Jr. It took over the schedule, it encouraged other channels to do the same, and not to mention, it spawned an army of 5-year-old Paw Patrol fans that would attack anyone who dislikes it. So I guess we can say that not only Paw Patrol caused the downfall of Nick Jr., but preschool shows as a whole. I was originally gonna include a section on how Nick Jr. can redeem itself, but that'll be saved for a future video. Before we end this, I'd like to ask you all to not go out of your way to harass the people at Nickelodeon. I have nothing against them. I just want them to make better decisions. Holy crap, am I finally done? Oh, thank God. I've been working on this video for so long. And now that I'm done, I can finally get back to working on the crazy city of Partyville. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, make sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, party on.